like I was spiraling by the end of it.
It's everything's recording now.
Thank you so much, Brian. I appreciate it. Is that another screen or is it the same screen?
Both of these are the same.
Okay.
Join us, coffee snobs.
Yeah, I was like, the same thing on I've never looked at thumbs up the same time. I feel like I'm constantly.
Libby keeps making money and so good. Just like, have you had grass right now? Yeah. It's really good. He's like, yeah, it's really good. He hates all berries. Like, there's no way he would ever drink grass.
Yeah.
Just make sure you repeat the questions because the mic might not be.
Started with like
Maybe not all
this
of
one
them
just
together.
stopped.
Repeat the questions if they're
Like double
Yeah, so if
vegetables.
you get questions at the end.
Okay, I'll do that. Thank you.
What do you mean? That's right.
I'm gonna see if I can share the cloud as it's coming in. So your use your phone and please do fill out the quiz. We'll see what folks have been saying in the room. So someone here is aware, which is great.
Abdicating your duties.
Does it show though? Yeah, can you tell me if you're able to put something in? Because this should auto update.
In your professional opinion. Good.
Oh. Oh. Is it letting you put something in? No,
No.
I'm seeing a distinguishing. It's not.
I'm checking.
Oh, no, where did you?
It's showing me a distinct lack of changes to what people are thinking about. Almost aware. This is a word bomb. All right, so we can get started? Okay, well done, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm talking about accessibility. We have about 40 minutes we'll go through with this word cloud. I'm starting to see some responses, and I will take it away. Oh, and thank you very much to our sponsors. Thank you so much for the organizers as well, and also to the space. It's been a fantastic group so far. We'll have 5 sections, so we'll just do this little bit of introduction, overview, and quiz, facts and figures, some examples, and then principles, and you'll leave with a resource list. So a bit about me, and my colleague Jen in space said you can go ahead and put a picture of your cat. I live in Lansing, Michigan, so I've come up from the south. I learned Drupal in 2008. I did the website redesign for Green America and for Sugar Change Makers, and I've been with Lullabot as a technical project manager now since 2019. Also part of your Drupal Association history. Can I just get some hands in the room? So have you been on Drupal for maybe more than 10 years? Yeah, how about 5 to 10 years-ish? 3 to 5 years? Okay, and then brand new to Drupal. Okay. So we have a big mix of folks in the room, so that's also great. Industries, finance, education, okay, government, healthcare. How about in technology or entertainment? Okay, so we have a wide variety of folks in the room. And this is the response from your word cloud that folks had said in the initial review. Informed and continually improving, thank you. Almost aware, almost and aware, and then knowledgeable. So that has tracked with my investigation into the subject to date, as most folks are still in that almost aware section when it comes to accessibility. Maybe a quick thumbs up, thumbs down. How is your current practice at your current organization or the current projects that you're doing? How are you feeling about accessibility embedded into your practice? Most folks I see as this. Oh, so you can see some thumbs up. So you're pretty comfortable with how it's going? Okay. Okay, then we're ready for the quiz. And I will give everybody a sticker because it's not fun to do something at an event, but you do get a sticker, so Let's go take the quiz together. I know you're already a winner just by participating. Please do take the quiz. It's optional, but you must take it to participate. You're fine. I was only going to give this to people who got a high score, but
We're all accessibility winners in this room.
that's right. By dint of you being here, you are an accessibility winner. So I'll give you 3 minutes to do that. I know everybody wanted to have school on their day off at the conference. We're taking the timer quiz. If you can use the QR code or use the screen. Is it working? Is there an actual quiz? Okay, about a minute left. You can just do B if you don't know the answer. All right, 20 seconds. We'll look at folks' answers. Okay, we can review folks' answers. All right. Okay, how's people scoring? You get 1 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 30, 30 to 40? Yeah, we got some good accessibility practice in the room. Okay, and we can go over the actual answers. So this is what folks in the room have said. And there is one where it's you get a point for everything you're doing. So that's okay. So that was the responses. So thank you for playing. And we can go into what our facts and figures have actually been. So, okay. Thank you for taking the quiz. I know you just wanted to come to the conference to appreciate, but okay, 1.3 billion people experience a significant disability. And again, I have my sources. I'll send the links around to the group as well. So this is anybody wearing assistive technology. I was just thinking today when I'm looking here at the screen and here, I am low vision. I have difficulty with vision. I'm sure in your life you'll find somebody who has an accessibility issue if you don't currently. 1 in 4 in North America. So that's both from Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and Statistics Canada. So our web properties are touching multiple people, and at least 1 in 4 to 1 in 5 are possibly having difficulty. This is the global purchasing power T, trillion with a T, Canadian, about $18 trillion USD. This is the digital power, the global purchasing power of people with disabilities. So, you know, it's money. If you need to make your case to your decision makers, it's about the money. And then here is, of course, the average cost of a settlement. For smaller businesses, it was less, about $5,000. But this is a significant amount for your business that you're potentially working with, or if it's for a larger organization. There's problems. And these are the types of mistakes we see. So we'll go over the top 10 mistakes. This is like the most easy that you, I'm sure, have seen. Missing alt text. The second is the color contrast not being strong enough. So we definitely want to have that be part of your overall screens that you're building into your practice. Navigation being confusing or switching around. You know, we had a designer who gave us some ideas about what the design might be, but it changes a little bit from screen to screen. That can be very confusing for folks. Tables, infographics, and images not compatible with readers. In government, we have a number of folks who have legacy PDFs that are very difficult to read, and we're encouraging them to move that to HTML. Stop putting it locked up in a PDF that's inaccessible. The focus indicator, making sure you can get through the rest of your page using the focus indicator. Read more and click here. We've even created click here audits for our content that say how many instances do you have of text. It says click here. Oh, we had a page that had like 7 different YouTube videos all come up at the same time and start playing at the same time. Welcome to retirement. Very difficult for folks. Time limits. Okay, did you know that seniors are it's one of the most difficult things for someone to use their authenticator app in like 30 seconds or even a minute to try and get that code, reference back to the thing that they're trying to log into, and make sure that that happens in an appropriate amount of time. So time limits, difficult. Unlabeled icons and icon-only buttons. These are also issues that can be fixed for your progress. And then our biggest is the PDF files that are left over. Minutes from 2018. You don't need that on your website. Go ahead and put it into your Drive or your SharePoint and let somebody who requests it ask for it, but take it off your site if you can. Who is responsible for accessibility in your organization? Just think about in your leadership or in your groups that you work with. Who actually does the sign off? Who actually says that your site is accessible? Okay, so who is responsible for accessibility? Each of us is responsible. When it comes down to it, each of us in our different roles, and I know some of you are developers, some of you are in content, some of you are in design, each of us can take a piece of that, and then together that will build a practice for your organization, for your project. Okay, so don't close your eyes or close your ears or close your mouth. Each of us is responsible. Okay, so we'll just go into certain examples and like nod your head if these make sense to you, or say, no, this is odd if it isn't for you. Alt text for images. I think this should be the very first. If you haven't yet, just go ahead and do this across all of your properties and search. Here's an example of the Canadian Post with a Diwali stamp. It says this red Diwali stamp features a Rangoli pattern and the words Happy Diwali. So it's like very well organized, it's very prominent, and that's right there on the front page of the website. Well written alt text. Great to have across all places. That example, no alt text and a chart that's like, what am I supposed to do with this? Let's say I'm trying to use the screen reader, I get nothing. So try and, you know, maybe add the alt text, but if you're making an alt text, I don't know if straight up descriptive image or whatever image is going to be as helpful. Go ahead and say what the content of that image is, and that will help your screen reader. In fact, I'll tell you later in the talk, but just go ahead and go through your website with a screen reader and see how it feels for folks. So use the alt tab. Color contrast, wow. Even when I was making this, I thought to myself that I wonder if the color contrast of any of our materials is strong enough, and I see this again as an older person now with my eyesight. Make it as contrasty as possible, high contrast as possible. So 4.5 for normal text, 3 to large. But this, the AAA standard, the aspiring standard of AAA is 7. It's like just black and just white. So this contrast checker, I would encourage you to check, and I have a list of resources, but the way that you can test is by checking the numbers, and it'll tell you. So this color blue and this color white is at 8.59. That's very helpful. Please do not have a low contrast version. This is only 2 and a 3, 2.3, not great. This is a little more with that blue, okay? It's very easy to make a global change if you can to your site. Okay, navigating without a mouse. So can you go through your current website with just a keyboard? Like, has anybody tried it? Can I see? Yeah, so some of you are gonna have to do it, but if you haven't yet, try it with just navigating to your website and using it. Make every interactive part accessible. So you can tab to move forward, shift tab to move back, enter to activate buttons, and it should go through every single button, every single menu link, and then arrow keys. Anybody ever been in a focus trap? Like, I try to go through my website and now I can't do anything. I'm stuck because the mouse is like, or the keyboard is trapped. So use your website, put in some examples or learn about, so that you can get to an item and semantically and the way it's formed, your keyboard reader can access it and get out of it if it needs to. Oh, okay, form elements. So as we're seeing a lot more interaction with forms, and again, with seniors, with people who are learning how to use a computer for the first time, let's try and make it as accessible as possible. Here's the Southwest Drupal user. We have the labels, we have help text, it's very clear. So let's strive to make our forms well formed like this. And I did learn, which I used to do, but is not agreed upon, is to put pre-filled text. Just go ahead and leave it open text. You don't need to put the pre-filled text. Okay, yeah, some samples of form labels. Good example would have, proper label association, semantic HTML. My last example is for your keyboard users that are using the website. Give them an option to automatically skip further down. So here is another example of Canada.ca. When you click tab, it opens up skip to main content. And that allows somebody, if they're going through many, many pages, it allows them to skip the menu part. I did want to show this. Has anybody tried this on your own machine or on your own website? Like skipped navigation. The thing is, if you're on Drupal, I think a lot of this comes with, right? I'll just see with the version here. So here I'm going to tab, and it opens up. So again, here I am. I go to the website. Let's say I'm navigating. If I just click tab, my skip to navigation comes right out. So I can bypass everything and go straight to what I need. Okay? Super easy, super relevant, and super helpful for your users. Okay, so that was our examples. Bad example, good example, skip through. Okay, a bonus, and again, you'll bear with me, I actually am not as familiar with ARIA. Have folks started using this in your own? So my colleague, Kat Shaw, is an accessibility expert, and she has a whole talk called What the Heck is ARIA? If you look on YouTube, you can find it. So from what I understand, this is all about, anything complicated, complex. So it can override and overcome education for the screen reader on the state of the interactive element. So here was a bad example. And then the better example is that the role is defined, the ID is defined, the action is linked. Okay, feedback, how's this going? Does this like make sense? Something that we can start to work on together? Okay, so when I was getting my accessibility certificate, they hammered for us the principles of POUR, which is an easy acronym for you to keep in mind as you're working with your content. So POUR, the first principle is being perceivable, which means, I have my notes here. Perceivable means that users can perceive using at least one of their senses. So this means an alternate for text. It means captions if you're displaying video for users who are deaf or hard of hearing. It also means having any kind of alternative for content. So that is the perceive. The next is operable. So this is where the key component of operable accessibility means that your keyboard can be the only tool to access the whole website. So again, a very good test would be at maybe different stages, test your website with just the keyboard, because you should start to see an increase in the operability of your page. User control, so users, give them the option to turn off or turn on things like the color contrast, the dark mode. Give them opportunities to turn off the sound if it's too loud. Like, don't control them, allow them the tooling. No keyboard traps, multiple input methods. So I don't know if folks have seen voice activated. So some folks are interacting with your pages and your content using different tools besides the mouse. Let's make sure to offer that. Voice input, maybe joystick, maybe it'll be a touch screen in addition to a mouse and keyboard. And then finally, operability is clear labels. So everything is consistent and clear and meaningful labels on your forms or your other elements. Okay, being understandable. So your information should be readable. So again, color contrast is helpful with this. But also written in we have a plain language idea concept. Has this trickled to here in Canada? We use quite a lot of plain language where instead of your content being very high level to understand, to try and use more lower vocabulary so that it can be used by more people. So this is an accessibility issue too. And then also predictable. So again, as I've said, if you have A, B, and C, or A, B, and C, and then you move to the next part of the form and it's like B and then C and then D, it's confusing for people. You want to have it be always the same so then people can slot into the bucket what they need to do, particularly with forms. And then finally, robust, and this is because we don't know what the technologies of the future will have, right? And so our content and our technology, we want it to be able to work today and also able to work with future technologies. So first across multiple types of browsers, screen readers, speech recognition software, but also consider future-proofing your design. So standard well-formed code, have clean syntax, start and end tags for your HTML elements, and compatible with all different types of assistive technologies. One thing to also note is we don't know in this room what the future will hold. We're building the tools for the future, but we don't know what standard experience will be like for, say, the grandkids' generation. Like, are they going to be logging online with their retinal scan? Will there be some sort of heads-up display? When we talk about being able to interact with elements, as long as these principles are in place, and we want them to carry over. And people can use their eyes to control a keyboard or move a mouse. It's incredible today. So I'm looking forward to the future. Okay, so what's next for your organization or for your work? I would highly recommend, as I said, just open up your website and navigate just using the keyboard. See if you can get through, do all of the standard tasks you're asking your user to do. Only use your keyboard. In fact, unplug or, deaden your mouse. Try the screen reader for your website if you have not, or check on YouTube. There are people who will run through people's websites with just the screen reader. Another is, can you actually zoom all the way in, and will your site lay out correctly? Because what we found is if we're not designing for that or keeping that in mind, somebody who needs to see that for low vision might start to drop off, sections and divs. And finally, color blindness. My husband is red-green colorblind, so whenever we have maps, whenever we have weather, whenever we have like political maps that don't have an additional level of shading or some other way to distinguish, the map means nothing to him. Red and green is all the same to him. So think about how you can make things a little more accessible for your processes. This is an example of some automated testing. Again, this can be built into your system, especially if you're in the dev site. We use a lot of that wave. We use the lighthouse functionality. Like at one point we were giving reports to our clients with the lighthouse snapshot every month to let them know, okay, you're moving into lower accessibility, let's expand it. I would love to hear from the team, what types of automated or manual testing do you do at your current organizations?
We use SiteImprove for portfolio account level assessment.
So we use SiteImprove. Is that chosen from your purchaser? Is it a free software?
We procured it through RFP process.
And then it runs through every page.
Runs
on your
through
website.
any website that we add to the account.
Okay,
which
great.
is-
And it's running in background.
It's
and-
running, the scans are running on average once every 2 to 4 weeks per site.
Okay, yeah, I think that's a good cadence. I think I've seen monthly, quarterly might be a little too less. We want
Depending on
probably
the nature of it.
monthly,
because there's
weekly,
so
yeah,
much trying to do.
depending on how, any other tools that folks have been using for their ongoing kind of accessibility practice? Lullabot.
Do they have to be automated?
No, okay, sorry, just like tooling in general. What kind of testing do you have?
Oh, so we have, there's some Figma plugins that we use for color contrast, and we also use annotations in Figma. So when we're handing stuff off to the developer, what should be H1, H2, H3, tabbing, tab order, that type of stuff.
You can specify tab order in the design.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so Figma has plugins for accessibility, and then you can use the annotations to communicate with the devs. That's pretty good. I didn't know about that. And tab order, that's great. Other?
Yeah, we wire Axe's JavaScript library into Playwright for automated tests. And so whenever you take a screenshot for a visual diff, we use that as a signal to be like, oh, this page must be important, and run the accessibility tests on it at the same
And
time.
it has a score on it, right? Or it tells you when you...
Yeah, it gives you a JSON blob of all of the errors that then you can do something with.
Okay, so you have 3 right there. So the Figma plugins, the SiteImprove. So are you using? What are you using?
We use DynoMapper for automated audits. and-
Dino Mapper.
Yeah, like DYNO.
Oh, like
mapper.
Dynamite. Okay, Dino Mapper. Okay.
Yeah, and it shows you what possible accessibility concerns there are, probable and definite ones.
Uh-huh.
And so that can help you catch additional things that you haven't caught through other means, manually or with other different plugins.
And so do you run that, at what point are you running these scripts prior, on a live site, just weekly or during development? Or?
So I'm a designer,
Oh, okay.
so I'll run it during the research phase to be able to do that along with a content audit and UX audit to be able to determine different areas, and then we can also let the developers know, and it'll find broken links and hidden pages that are on the site that we didn't realize are actually there. So I'll run it once, and then I don't know how often the developers do or don't use it.
Yeah, I would encourage us all to start thinking of accessibility when we do handoffs. Oftentimes it is just the content audit, or it'll be what we call the data dictionary or blueprint. But let's consider using an accessibility audit as also part of our deliverables to whatever our next decision maker or party is. Any other tools that folks? Yeah.
We also run a CK editor
CK editor.
plugin called Editorially.
Editorial. Yes.
So
Perfect.
because SiteImprove will cover all of the system held stuff for the most part. So we need an extra tool, because we can't, Sunproof can't kind of get at the content when someone's creating content within a page.
Yes.
It's not a nice way to do that right now. So
Yeah, for the author.
For the content author, for the content creator.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so we have some tools from the audience, and I'll check the recording, but those are all good to know. And you know, again, I think of this as, we're incremental, so I'm gonna give you 30-day, 60-day, 90-day, but like, this is a rolling practice, right? So if we're working, let's say you needed some tools on what to do in the next 30, just do that first up audit, Montecito, Lullabot, Site Improve, any of those would be good. And fix those issues, just the start. Like again, we don't wanna get stopped by anything, we just wanna start the practice. So in the next 30 days, I would also encourage us to start thinking as a group mentality, because you know, who's responsible for accessibility? Right now, not only one state that we know of in the United States has a chief accessibility officer. More likely at your organization is ad hoc or pulled together. So determine as a group what it would look like. Even have a working group or convene an ad hoc discussion about what does accessibility look like at our practice. And then consider to train your team on the basics. So again, if you were looking to start somewhere, I would say start with something like this. If you were looking to expand your practice, or you're wanting to talk to your leadership about what could happen, maybe a lot more dialed identification of where your accessibility can be built into your tooling. Starts with some of those automated testing. So you've done your manual testing, now investigate how can you put automated testing in. For accessibility checklist, can you develop some sort of IP or some sort of internal project tool for yourself that you always use this whenever you sign off on something? So you could be a product owner, you could be a designer, you know, whatever it is, determine what that checklist could be and then start to bring that into your process. As I said, the screen reader testing, that can be good to do between now and say the, November-ish, if you haven't yet, just find the gaps and determine the plan. And then the 90-day, everything's like 30, 60, 90, but this is again, in 90 days we'd want to start again and look to see what we could do. But consider user testing, invite some of your end users who may have disabilities to participate in focus group testing or something to tell you what they think about your website. Consider having a statement of some sort so that you can get ahead of what is your organization doing about accessibility, building that in. How about some sort of monitoring or a report card? That might be good if you start now, and then you could say October of 2025, October 2026, this is our snapshot, this is how we are doing. And then also consider how you can plan for quarterly or annual reviews of the same content. Okay, and finally we're at the resource section. I did say I would send some resources. So the gold standard, of course, is the WCAG, where you can go and find all of the guidelines, all of the kind of work and the levels. And they do have some checklists. And then these I've also put into my link on the Southwest Ontario Drupal session description, but I'm realizing this might be too small. Wave, for sure, wave.webaim. You can have your color contrast checker that I showed you as well. I did mention editorially, very good tool for your editors to get ahead of accessibility. The Ally Talks happens once a month and is a YouTube show with lots of talks. And then Deep, is it Deep? Has AxCon, and that's coming up in February. It's a free conference and you can participate online. And AxCon has all of the details on that. Thank you. And then of course, any questions or any other discussions while we wrap everything up?
So I'm curious to get your take on this, or your experience. Have you ever experienced a client who wasn't bought into accessibility?
Given point, a lot of them would be in the red or bad, not reaching 78, and then some would have. And then what we would do is every time we instituted something, we'd show, is there a difference in this 2-week period? Ideally, some of the scores will have gone up, and you'll start to see the screen turn green, or not red, green, colorblind. You see it passing for anybody who's checking. So I think partially for our job, it's how we communicate it to stakeholders who may be far removed. You're the subject matter experts in the room. You know this stuff. You know that it's important and you know how to check for it. But maybe think about what do you need to show to somebody who's your client or somebody who's 1 or 2 levels above you. They may just want, are we good? Yes, we're good. We're passing on these 4 instances. Check. Quarter's done. So I think communication and then having a standard cadence of checking on your checklist that you come up with, and then communicating that out. Also insisting on it, like accessibility is starting to get written into people's RFPs or proposals. You can differentiate that you are paying attention to accessibility when you respond to your clients. So, you know, giving that extra level of, you're not trying to deliberately cut out 28% of your users. You're thinking about them. And that's what the web is for. Making sure that we can get information into the hands of everybody who needs it. Other questions, comments, thoughts?
Have you been involved in any projects where part of the deliverables was to establish accessibility, leadership, and oversight?
Leadership and oversight. I don't know if I can answer that. I think we, at least from our job, we've been tasked with a lot of the rough data to give somebody, so we do things like accessibility audits, and then I think we hand that over, and then it's up to the decision makers or the owners, stakeholders, to determine what they're going to do with that information. If they've come to us with accessibility already pre-baked as one of the metrics of success or key performance indicators, and we just deliver on that. But I don't know, maybe I'm looking at my colleagues, like I don't know if we're responsible for implementing at it. I would be curious if we could have some sort of guidelines or blueprints for folks, like where to start at my organization. That might be helpful for somebody. So if you have ideas, like start sharing that information. Why, have you found that to be the case?
So we're at the University of Waterloo, and the forever struggle for a lot of things, including accessibility, is how do we get any leadership focused on, you have the slide at the beginning of your presentation, who's responsible, who's the decision maker. Well,
I mean, I guess.
It is all of us, but it's we need somebody, I needed somebody to sign off on the check to pay percent improve. Right?
Yeah, that's why I wondered who bought
That's a
it.
struggle.
Who bought it, yeah.
So for us, it want to be in collaboration between our Chief Information Officer and our basically AP of Human Resources. It's kind of a joint effort, but it was a struggle to even get that far.
So those are the types of people that need to be in the room making those decisions and getting the information. Maybe you as the front level person can then start to say, okay, this is a human resources issue. Legal can get involved. I mean, legal gets involved because, again, I showed you the lawsuit stuff. That's actually a driving fear right now in the United States is all of the regional and state governments must comply by a certain date, April 2026. And people are terrified because they just haven't thought about it. But the threat of the lawsuit and the legal challenge is encouraging that.
Which is interesting because so in Ontario, we've had legislation for well over a decade at this point. And you would think that would help drive adoption and encourage the building of the culture. I don't think I can say that has been the case. So,
Interesting.
We've had clients, by far the most successful buy-in that we've seen has been after there's been legal action against the organization.
After legal action.
As soon as that happens, it doesn't matter actually how much it is. It's just like they're worried about the precedent. They're worried even if they do a relatively small settlement for a relatively small issue, and then others are going to see, oh, this organization pays, and they're not fixing their issues. And I actually don't think in Canada we've had that culture of, pro bono lawyers working towards lawsuits against institutions. And in the States, that's been totally the thing. And if anything, I'd say the most recent development we've seen is, unfortunately, with the political climate in the States, there's actually been less worry about it because they don't think the DOJ is actually going to enforce the laws and those sorts of things.
Again, I would also say, I would be curious in, say, an aging population, the people are going to start to demand it. Like, I cannot see stuff. I'm going to write it in. I cannot read your website. So it might be a matter of time. It might be a matter of tooling. And it might be a matter of bringing the right people in the room. But yeah, human resources, kind of information purchasing, and legal might be a good start for that. Other questions, comments? How's accessibility been in your place? No? Anything? Otherwise, we can wrap and trust on your accessibility journey to look at that sticker and think about what you can do to make your tech more accessible to all people. Thank you.